Hi guys, Kim and Ginger here.
Hi. Hi.
What we thought we'd talk about was Ginger's made up this new word, and this new word is the Imaginarium, which is the place that we're living in. And it's like a fish tank, but it's everything that's contained. So it's like the pop-up world, but it's everything that's contained. And we've been talking about it a bit, and I just wanted to kind of we both got bits and pieces to add to this, by the way. But I just wanted to add a bit to it to describe some of the circumstances in which we're creating from within our own imaginarium. So, to begin with, what I wanted to say was I was having a conversation with my sister last night about um, like watching stuff or listening to stuff, and that stuff not really being of any consequence. Like you watch something and you go, uh, so what? How is that relative to me? Or how does that change the way I feel? And I think so much of the stuff that's coming through our awareness these days fits into that category. And I think that, Ginger, I think you were saying that um, you had something to say about that, didn't you?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think we've looked at it through the effective water. By the way, I love the background. It's perfect. And it's very much an energy. So when we expose ourselves to these sound energies, we can use sound in a number of ways. And I suspect that sound has been used to heavily manipulate us in ways that we're fully unaware of.
Yeah.
And it's so subtle. And dogs can hear things that we can't hear, for example, and they respond to it. So how do we respond? Is it that subtle that we're responding? Are we in a state of flight or fight? Are we finding life too heavy? We can't lift ourselves, that kind of thing. Like, what kind of an effect does it have on us? Can we get ourselves out of that state of inertia? Because it really does feel as though people are sleeping through, and not really noticing how that drink made me feel, or how
Yeah.
that food made me feel, or how that sound made me feel.
Or how watching that movie made me feel, or
Correct.
even believing what was presented in the movie or the YouTube video, this idea that you're given all of this information overload, you're living in this information overload society, and then suddenly you go, well, so what? How does that help?
Well, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to the mind. It's useless information. It's all theory. There's nothing necessarily true about it. The only thing that I feel, I don't like that word. I think it's wise for us to focus on the mystical and uh, and just
The
listen.
Imaginarium.
Correct. The Imaginarium.
The
Listen for that
Imaginarium.
information's just sitting there waiting to tell us and
And
show us, and then we get fully distracted, and it's like we're in a sleep state 24/7.
yeah, so we've got all of these in our Imaginarium, we've got all of these intents on our rudder,
Correct.
uh, which again, my sister and I were talking about this last night because she was saying to her, it's really, really important to imagine the things that you actually want, not the things that you don't want. It's very easy to imagine the things that you don't want, or to think about or give concentration or give focus to the things you don't want. But what you should always bear in mind is where your focus goes, grows. Whatever you're giving energy to is amplifying, regardless of whether it's positive or negative, because there is no technically positive or negative in the world. There just is. And
It
that,
just is. And the question is, how does it make me feel? And if we're not consulting with that dialogue that we have, it's a dialogue that we build
yeah,
with the right brain, with the mystical,
yeah,
with the emotional part of us, and with the with the Akashic records, frankly. I mean, all the answers are there. I've been saying for a long time, Google is obsolete,
yeah,
and what we find there is just one person's theory. And people get really wrapped
yeah,
up in that one theory, and
yeah,
they go campaigning, and they want everybody to listen. And listen, we can't listen to everything. And it's not that we don't care, but there's only so much that we can do to help everyone through their crisis. And this is the year of the tower. We're each going to have some type of a tower moment where we're going to have to really check ourselves and recalibrate and decide which path are we going to take. We have those we have the chariot. Two horses are moving. What are we going to do? We're creating and we know this now. What will we do?
Right. So then
In the Imaginarium, of course. So if we take control of that, if that makes sense to you, Kim.
it does. So there was two other things that I wanted to bring to the attention. One is that for some unknown reason this morning I was looking at my conversation on Telegram with Nigel, the last conversation I had.
Oh yeah.
And the last conversation I can show you, I can share the screen and I can show you. The last conversation that I had with Nigel, I'll have to find it. Um, it's a bit way down now. Um, there it is. Right. So I'm going to minimize that and share the screen. Oh, share.
Look at us go. Woohoo.
Okay, sharing the screen. So the last conversation I had with Nigel was the word comedy, which is come die. That was one of the last things I said to him was come die.
That's
And the second last thing I said to him was, where are you? Take the W away and you've got I am here.
I
And
see.
then the only thing he said to me beyond that was sent me this video and he said howdy. And I said, was that howdy meant for me? But that was later. Oh no, no, that's right. 10:42, and he said howdy at 10:56. And then that's the last time I spoke to him, which was the 10th of November. So anyway, just the fact what I wanted to point out was that I had said, come die. One of the last things I said to him. And I know it's got
But
nothing
we
to do
played
with
with
it.
so many
I
words. It
know,
has
I
nothing to
know,
do with it. And but what a strange thing.
I know.
Like he would say, you can't make this up, right?
Yeah, you
You
can't
just
make this
can't
up.
make this up.
Yeah. Even the
And
date. I mean, the 1-1, all those ones in that date. I mean, the last scene on 12112022. He would have loved
so
that.
what does that add up to? That's 3, 4, 5, and that was 6. So that's 11. It was an 11 day,
It was the 12th of the 11th, but that's in my
but
time.
it
So it's
adds up
11
to
12, 11 12 2022.
so
Last
each of
time I
those
spoke to him.
digits, it was 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 2 and 2 and 2 is 6. So 6 and 5 is 11.
Mhm.
It was an 11 day or a 2 day, if you will, but the 11 is like a portal.
Well,
And
and he loved 11. 11 was
he loved
everywhere
all
because
that kind of thing.
well,
So it's
he was
almost
born
as
on the
though,
1st of the 11th. So it's like, oh, the 1st of the 10th, actually, 1st of October. It's 111, you know? And he loved
and
all that sort of
yeah,
like,
I know he talked a lot about the divine comedy.
I know.
And, this is the devil's playground, as he would say.
So anyway, in the Imaginarium, going back to the Imaginarium, I
Mhm.
also came across another thing which I think is a really big component of us creating the Imaginarium. And a lot of people get this juxtaposed, so they don't quite get this, but I'll explain it in a really like simple format, which is just kind of
Okay.
like it's like a recipe, but it just applies, right? So say for instance, if I'm applying for a job, now personally, anything that's meant for me in this life does not pass me by because my higher self, I believe, I'm not saying I'm right here, could be wrong, might change my mind about this tomorrow, but anything that my higher self has set out for me to do, I'm going to be doing it. And it's up to my higher self to inspire me to find the things, so drop it in my path. And then I go, oh, that's the third time I've heard that this week. That's really interesting because that subject really intrigues me or something. Um, so not to go off track. So anything that's meant for you will not pass you by.
I
If it's
fully
meant to do
agree.
it, you'll do it.
I fully agree with that. And I think one of the reasons I think you and I both feel that is because we've experienced that.
Yeah.
And, we know, and this is what we're talking about when we're trying to share this. It's really all about manifestation and creation.
Yeah.
And we're in a 7 year, and seven is a number of creation.
Yeah. So then the second part of it, so I'm going for this job, right? I'm applying for a job. The second part of it is it's not about applying for that job. The outcome is not about anything that you do. So if you don't get the job, it's not because your resume wasn't good enough or that your hair was too long or that you might try to imagine the reasons why you didn't get it. But the reasons you don't get it, it's got nothing at all to do with you. It's to do with the perception of the person that's doing the employing.
I also think it's mostly to do with what you think is going to happen. So if you think you're not going to get the job because of your resume, you likely won't. If you think you're not going to get it because of your hair, you likely won't. We're creating, we're manifesting, and what we think about matters. And we put a lot of energy into other people's thoughts and then the most negative thoughts about ourselves because that's what we've been conditioned with. It's big business, all this fear, I call it fear porn. It's everywhere. It's in the newspapers, it's in every, at 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's all day now,
I
you
don't
know.
and I don't know whether it's completely your own capacity to imagine because the same thing applies. If it's meant for you, you'll have it. If it's not meant for you, you won't.
Well, I
So
think
like
if you want it, if you think it's
mm,
something that you would like, like if you've said, would this be right for me? And you're feeling very positive about it, then we can sabotage our efforts. We can sabotage our
I had a
manifestation with that old thinking of, oh, my hair is not good enough, you
I,
know,
I
or
had
whatever it is that brings us right back.
I had a thing the other year, about 5 years ago now. There was a job advertised for 000, which is the 911 number. It's going to work in the call center for ambulances and things, or like the actually all three. It's like 000 equivalent. And the job process was really, really, really quite complex,
Mm.
and it actually cost $1,000 to apply for this job. And they said to you, if you got the job, they gave you the money back. But if you didn't get the job, they didn't give you the money back. I think, well, that's an oxymoron because if you got the job, you wouldn't need the money back. But if you didn't get the job, you would need the money back. So that one kind of got me anyway.
That
I
is
didn't,
strange. Yeah.
it was $1,000 too, because you had to pay for your own medical, you had to pay for your own typing tests, and you had to pay for this funny test where you had to go and do a mock-up of like a 911 call center. It's a mock-up thing. Um, anyway, can't remember why I brought that up, but I really, really wanted that job.
I bet. And so you have to really, push for what you want.
I didn't get
And,
it.
or you didn't get it.
I
But
didn't get it.
what do you think it was, Kim, that stopped you from getting it? I had a little distraction, sorry. What was it that stopped you from getting it? What do you think it was in
I just think
hindsight?
it wasn't meant for me.
It wasn't meant for you then. And
Then,
I think that too, like if it doesn't work out and you've tried your best and
yeah,
because it doesn't always work out. That's part of it too, but it's exploring how can we create the world that we want? How do we create that pop-up world? And what feels good to us? How do we get things to move in a direction that's a nice flow opposed to a challenging flow?
uh, the other thing actually with that interview was the all of the people in the interview room were very young,
Mm.
and I walked in there and it gave me a real shock. It's like, oh,
That might have been enough, like I think it's very important for us to, you know, hold that thought. And it's challenging for us to hold that thought because there's so many distractions. And, we've got a vault of data in
Well,
the left brain telling us why it's not going to work out.
and yet I've just contradicted myself there because I'm saying that the reason you don't get something has got nothing whatsoever to do with you. It's not got to do with your age. It's not got to do with your hair. It's not got to do, it's got to do with something that you can't even fathom because it's not you.
I agree.
So
I
we're,
agree.
we're
It's
living in
it's
this world where things are affecting us and we think we know what's affecting us. We think we know what other people think and we don't.
no.
So you're going to
We
get,
only know we can only see our reflection,
yeah,
if that makes sense. And
yeah,
when like I say, I just share openly because I know that sometimes I'm not wrong, and people can relate to that point of view.
you,
And but other
you
times I'm way out in left field. I'm off base and it's kind of an uncomfortable experience. But I think in this moment we have to try. It's nice to share time with you and discuss this because I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this.
okay. Because you did it the other day. I was raving about somebody being like really good at something and thinking that, wow, and you're saying, but the point is that in order for you to be able to perceive that, you have to have that in you
Correct.
in order for you
I
to be
agree.
even able to notice that. So if you've got somebody in your life that you hold in really, really high regard, then it's because of you. It's because of something that you could do or something that it's part of you.
I think
Otherwise,
it's
you
the
wouldn't see it.
the thoughts. Oh well, absolutely. It's a quality. It's an energy, and
And
it's very subtle at times.
and it can get very confusing because, like, I don't know about you, but I'll come across situations where, say, somebody steals something, and I'll think, how did that happen? And I think, because it's actually not part of what I would think. Like, how could that happen if it's not part of what I think?
I get what you're saying. How could it have gone wrong? Well, I think it doesn't, I think it's very important for us, like I say, just to hold space, hold that thought. That's the best I've got, Kim. I mean, I do know that we can easily derail our own plan, by just saying, oh, I'm too tired or,
Yeah.
something like that. It can be so subtle. It's an underlying energy. And I do believe in the power of our thoughts. So I think it will always come back to thought. Like I'll often say to people who are looking for work, dress for the job you want, not the job you have, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're already at work and you want a different job, for
Mm-hmm.
example, dress for the job you want, not the one you have.
Mm-hmm.
And walk as though you've already got it.
Yeah.
And that sort of applies to life in general.
Yeah.
Walk as though you've already got the money. Walk as though you've already, done it all. And whatever it is that you're setting out to do, you've accomplished it. How does it feel? Just walk in that avatar. Create
I
that,
I
create
once
that.
knew somebody that had a very, very high level paying job. And I said to this person, how did you manage that? And she said, um, well, actually, I keep wondering when they're going to work out that I can't do it. Been doing, I've been doing it for 10 years, but
I can
it's
totally relate to that,
it's
and
just that,
I've heard CEOs of
yeah, that's what I'm talking
mega
about here.
companies
That's what I'm
say
talking
that.
about. Going,
You know,
everybody beneath me knows what they're doing. I haven't got a clue, and all it is having the power to kind of sit in the seat and say, no,
the
actually,
rudder.
that seat's mine. So anyway, going back to the Imaginarium, what my sister and I were discussing last night was the idea that you have to put something in there. You're in your Imaginarium, in your intent, you have to have something that is akin to, that might be nice, or it might be fun to go and do that, or like an idea, a little bit of imagination, a little bit of your own creativity into a kind of a plan of where you're going. But then you've got to bring it back to just being in the now, just waking up in the morning and going, okay, I'm a human being. I'm not a human doer. I'm not a human, I don't know, what's another word? Thinker. I'm a human being. So that's basically what I wanted to say about the Imaginarium, but there was
So,
something that you sent me. Anything else you want to say before I jump
yeah, I was going
subject?
to say, what if I'm limitless spirit energy just waiting to be put in the right place at the right time at any moment? What if I'm open and I can't be the author of, every experience per se? Because sometimes what we call for is not right for us because the logical mind will think it's right. And yet it's just not what we're here to do. We have to tune to the mystic. We have to tune to that guide and listen for instructions. And then when we get into the flow, it's an unstoppable flow. And this is, I think, the most important thing for us to just stay focused on what's right for us, what feels right, and asking, how does this feel? Should I eat this? Should I drink this? Is this wise for me? Is this right for me? And checking in, really a personal check-in. We can't Google how to get the job. It's asking spirit how to get the job. How is this right for me?
The
And
other
then
thing about
cutting through so much of the other stuff. I mean, if you really think about it, there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't want. And if we think we're going to get another job, if there's some part of us that thinks we're going to get a job that we don't want, that's going to become toxic, for example, um, you know, it's challenging. We might not be giving any attention to that thought, but if we have that underlying belief, that has a lot to do with our ability to manifest,
Mhm.
especially if it's an energy that's not cleared. I think
And
it's
you,
important for us to stay open and curious. And I wonder what this will bring instead of playing that old script of, oh, here we go again. You know,
I had this desire for a gypsy caravan for years and years and years. I wanted a gypsy caravan. I know what I
you
wanted to
get,
do with it. I just wanted a gypsy caravan, And then I had this opportunity to have a one, and it was an authentic one, and it was from the UK. And I sat down and went, well, really, it's not going to really work in Australia because the second that the sun hits it here, it's it's going to rot really quickly. The weather will
hmm
rot it really quickly here. So I'm like, that means I've got to have a garage for it, and I've got to keep it in a garage. So build a
what about
garage.
UV paint? I guess it's not an option anymore, Kim. I
You've
wonder
also
if
got things like
UV paint
you've
would
got
help.
things that eat wood here.
Oh, I see.
Little what do you call them?
So what
What were
is
they
your
called?
your
Termites.
homes, are your homes made of wood or no?
Mine's not. Mine's made of cement. It's got a metal frame and
Yeah,
it's made of that cement block. Not cement. It's like it looks like wood.
oh, I
It's
see.
a cement mixture. I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's painted. But some people's houses are made of wood, but not many people. We've got a really big problem with termites here, especially on this island. Really big
I
termite
see.
problem. So anyway, so I'm thinking
I
gypsy
wonder
caravan, and
I wonder what the purpose of the termite is. I'll have to look at that one day. I just think everything we call it, and I do wonder, we'll learn about it one day. I'll learn about it at least.
yeah, what is the purpose of a termite?
What is the purpose? I had to learn that about another insect that was really troubling me. And I thought I'm going to become friends with this bug because I know the
What
more I'm
bug?
afraid of it, it's
Oh,
an
it's an
earwig,
earwig. It was an
earwig.
earwig, right?
And I had a really traumatizing experience with one. I was shocked the first time I met one. I was at the top of a ladder and I let go and I really scared myself. But that thing was terrifying. I'd
How
never
big are
seen
they?
anything like it.
How big are they?
Oh, oh, that's pretty big. That's about that, right? I don't know
Yeah,
if you can see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, they're kind of creepy looking though, but they actually serve a purpose. They come to help us make compost. They're here just to eat dead leaves and things like that. So if you don't want them, then make sure you don't have dead leaves or anything like that, any kind of lawn debris around your home. And you should be able to keep their distance, especially if you send them love. Go find food. It's not here. A little salt on the doorway too while you're at it,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
case they get any ideas.
All right. So termites serve no purpose.
is that what you are you searching? I don't know what purpose they serve.
Well,
I don't know if they do or
they
not. I
eat,
didn't think the earwigs did.
they eat the I know they eat wood. They eat houses. They're
I
like
wonder
houses.
why. Where on earth? Where
Guy
I
across
guess
the road had a staircase in his house. Had a one. Not for long.
no. Oh my
The
goodness.
termites ate the staircase.
That's unbelievable.
I
I
know.
couldn't imagine. Like we do have a lot of wood in our life. There's a lot of wood around us. We've got earwigs or nothing compared to that then.
But the houses here have everything's built to prevent it. So they're built on like metal stilts because the termites won't climb up metal to get to wood.
Oh, that's good. That's good
So
to know.
so if you have a block of metal touching the ground, you can't have like wood on the ground and then wood off wood because the termites would just eat away at the whole lot and
Mm,
you'd have no house. Anyway.
that's
Right,
pretty
so I'm
curious.
gonna move on to your presentation,
Which
which
I think it's a little bit relevant. I've often asked, what dream are we dreaming? What are we creating? We go into our little daydreams, and I'm wondering now, are we sleepwalking? And this has to do with my curiosity about sound and how sound creates, and we know that the body is mostly water, or at least we believe that to be true, and we know that our emotional energy is significant, and it's a target. And I would say, especially with media and all the fear porn again. So we've got the word psalm came to mind as another word for sleep. And I was curious about this and wanted to see sort of, what year and what were they saying about it? When did we first start talking about it? Well, um, this the reason I was looking for it is because my son says, can we go to the third slide, Kim? I'm sorry, I'm going to
oh,
jump.
jump to the third slide, okay?
The third slide.
Yeah, go.
I searched to see if this word existed, and etymology took me to the first slide that we saw,
No.
and I became very curious about that. But the word that was found, it came under Rick and Morty, and he'll say to me all the time, "Mom, you're not going to believe this." And I know now that that means it's on Rick and Morty. And it kind of bugs me a little bit that, our youngsters are being influenced, like things that I'll be curious about, asking questions about, like, what does this word mean? There's episodes of look at Sneak Peek, Rick's Night Person, Adult Swim, talk about an Imaginarium. Like, what are they influencing our kids with?
But
Rick is crazy from my point of view. He's
yeah.
nuts, and then, but yet we sound alike. So it's kind of undermining, and this is
The
nothing new,
craziness. It's
undermining the
oh
parent.
making you sound like you're crazy because Rick says stuff like that.
Correct.
And
And
it's
it's like,
beautiful. It's a beautiful categorization. It's like the categorization of, oh, you must be a conspiracy theorist.
correct.
It's like,
You
what?
know,
I used to hate that because they go, well, what does that mean? You don't want me to ask?
Well, he was telling me about these episodes, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck you're getting at. And then I finally watched a few of them, and I said, oh, I see now. Well, he's like a mad scientist, and I can't even begin to describe the plot line. You'll have to look for yourself.
Okay.
Um,
Never
but
heard of him.
oh yeah, no, it's something that a lot of youngsters are familiar with. He's in his 20s, so I mean, it's been around,
Uh,
and he's known about it for at least 10 years. So it's a big influence.
uh,
And that's what it's all about. It's like what's influencing us, the fluent, what is creating those subtle energies that we're unaware of, and
when I
how do we cleanse them, but also how do we understand them? Because I think that learning about this is important. Because the second slide, if you don't mind, Kim.
okay, can I just say something about the first
Oh yes,
slide?
please, yes.
All I could see when you first of all said this to me was the word ambulance. Oh,
That too, somnambulism,
um,
ambulant, and the
why
ambient.
is ambulance there? Sun ambulance at the on the second part, the stack of related words, sun ambulance. So ambulance is part of sun. So that's
And
like that ambulance would be a triage or a place to go to to bring back balance.
Well, this
Uh,
is taken directly from etymology, and in 1786 they said it was walking in one's sleep or under hypnosis. And the under hypnosis part really connects to sound and what's influencing us. And that's why I think it's important that we learn about, well, what is sleep anyway? You know, sleep was something that I didn't get a lot of. And I was known as an insomniac. So when you look at that word, in means no. In means no sleep.
so
And it's
we
such a curious thing to look at the background of our words, our language, and where it comes from.
because we
So
were
under hypnosis, are we under hypnosis? Are we sleepwalking?
I think you and I were yesterday talking about why sleep is necessary.
Mm,
And one of the because I had a series of experiences with my higher self a few years ago where they came and they related various different things to me. And one of the things that they talked about to me was sleep. And they told me that sleep was essential because there's so much gross negativity in the world that the sleep is the point where we can get to where we can cleanse that negative influence out of our system and wake up afresh the next morning with a cleansed to cleanse the negativity from the essence from who we are. And that if the negativity became overwhelmingly too much, that we would start creating really negative worlds in our imaginarium.
that's correct.
And that was the reason, that was the purpose of sleep. It was to cleanse the soul and also to bring forth in the, depending on the connection with the soul, in a dream state, you could bring forth the things that needed to be addressed, the things that were there, that were present in our reality and absolutely needed to be looked at. So they could do that by influencing us in our sleep state.
Well, and I also thought the sleepwalking and the hypnosis, and then you add the notion of cognitive dissonance. What is that anyway? How is it that people can stay in a sleep, like a somewhat of a sleep state? We're calling this the Great Awakening. What does this all mean? I don't know. This is what I was giving some thought to last week. And when you were saying something earlier, I thought, oh, let's maybe look at that too, because I do think it's relevant when we're talking about, how the media and such influences us on such a subtle level, and our own beliefs can influence us as well. But many of us are trying to avoid all that. So in circa 1200, it says the word asleep. I found the spellings of it interesting. In in or into a state of slumber. It means to be inattentive, off guard, mid 14th century in reference to limbs, so numb and having a prickly feeling through the stoppage of circulation.
Well,
And
asleep in
yeah,
that.
so to
Wow.
stop the circulation, that's when your hand goes to sleep, for example.
Yeah.
So they used it for that meaning as well as the word asleep. And yeah.
Talking
Oh,
of,
and there was another word here. Let me see if I can move my screen without turning things um, into chaos.
I wanted to talk about your hands going to sleep in your sleep
Yes,
for a
please.
second because you pointed this out to me last week. I've been having a problem where my two little fingers have been going numb during the night, and
Oh,
then you told me to have something yeast. What's it called? Nutritional yeast.
nutritional yeast.
Yeah. So I went and bought some nutritional yeast, and the day that I started to take it, no more numbness in my two little fingers.
Well, I think you were saying that you were sensing that you needed B vitamins, and I
Yeah,
said that's an excellent source of and an inexpensive source when you look at it comparatively.
yeah.
And it's easier for the body to digest rather than have to process pills, expensive pills that might have added fillers. You get it pure, and it's a really great source of. And B is your energy, so it's if there's a circulation issue, yeah,
My
it's
sister said to me last night she'd send me a recipe for a nutritional yeast cauliflower cheese that got it's vegan, it's got no cheese in it, it's got
oh, I'm
nutritional
sure
yeast in
it'd
it.
be delicious. I'd like that
Uh,
too.
and I said, send me the recipe. So when she sent it, I'll send it through.
Oh, I
right?
like that.
So I'll just stop sharing this. Is that what you
Yes, that's
said?
fine. Yeah, yeah, just the thoughts that I was having last week. I was sitting in my little Imaginarium, and that's what was flowing through my mind. And it's quite an interesting thing to look at the etymology of our language and the words that we use.
Yes. Okay. So the other one that you had was in or inside, in.
In means no. When you look at it in relation to the word insomnia, well, if you look at the etymology, it was spelled out very clearly to me, and I thought, well, no, this is quite interesting, and I just haven't had much time to look at it since, but
Right.
it does make a lot of sense, and it raises quite a few alarms when you think of the number of words that begin with in,
Mm.
and now they are spun backwards, aren't they? Like so many other things in this realm. It's a very strange world we live in.
It's a very strange world. Very weird. Okay. So the other subject that we've been messing about yesterday, looking at this really kind of fascinating subject, which was there's this guy from this mud fossil university. He's got a
Mm,
channel,
I
and
did listen.
he's right out there. He's
Hmm.
right out there, but he says on this particular I can give you a link to this on this particular YouTube video. He says how he found Atlantis on, yeah, it's actually in here. So then we went off and we were looking at photographs of it, right? Of what he found. And what he basically found was this. Make a little slide out of it. He found this area. Oh, that looks like this. So it's like rings of a thing. Am I sharing the screen right now or not?
No,
No.
I'm
Oh,
not seeing Kim.
right. Okay. Well, that's very good. Well, you get the idea of what it looked like. So let's just move along. Hang on, I'll share the screen. Right. So this is what he was saying was Atlantis. He thought it was Atlantis. Um, and it was like these two different, I can't get it, click on the other one now. Yeah.
The outer rim kind of looks like waves washing up on the shore, doesn't it?
Isn't it
With
beautiful? And
with
or an
with the
eye.
white with the whites of the outer rim. Yes, it does
So
definitely look like an eye. The
yeah.
pupil.
So then I was going to show you, I'm going to go up to here and show you where it is on in the world in relation to that. So where it is, this is Africa, okay,
Hmm.
and it's at a place called Mauritania, Mauritania,
Mauritania.
Mauritania, and it is there's a town called Chinguetti, and then there's a
That's
place called Oasis of Tanchouet, and then a place called Ouadane, and there it is there. You scroll in, this is just using Google Maps, but there's
it
the
also says there's
thing.
another region there, Kim, at the top of the eye there when you zoom in. I couldn't make it out what it said. Something region. There's another tag there. See it there? That's crazy to look at this. This is the
Just
Sahara Desert. Eye
I
of Sahara. Oh, I
Eye of
see.
Sahara, Sehra.
And then above that
So
it says Adrar, Adrar,
Adrar,
the
the
region of
tourists.
Adrar.
Yeah.
Mm,
All right. So anyway, this had me intrigued. So
it does
off I
look like an
went,
eye.
and I was looking at a composite map that I had saved on my computer from Stanford University. Now, this map, it's all Latin writing on it. It's actually quite fascinating. I've got a thing about maps anyway. I love looking at old maps. But in this particular map, as you can see, it's completely upside down. So we've got Italy here, as you can see, it's the boot. So
Hmm.
the squiggly areas, the seas. There's Spain. Okay. So if we go into Africa, which it's upside down, so this is Mauritania here. There's an inland sea. Isn't that
How curious.
interesting?
And
And
it's above Mauritania. So if we flipped the map, it looks like it would be identical. It's very interesting, Kim. Where did this map come from?
it's Stanford University composite map. I can give you a link to it. I'll give you a link to it in the thing. The other thing that's really interesting about it, which we talked about a little bit, is they called England Anglia,
Mm.
Scotland Scotia, and Ireland Hibernia.
Hibernia. I believe I've heard that before, and it makes perfect sense. And I was trying to, I think, recently remember the name, and it wasn't coming out right. It was coming out as Hebrides, Hebrides, and but I think it this makes more sense to me.
So it's all the writing's all in Latin, I think. Manitoba, all the
Domburg,
writing, everything here.
Scotia,
So you'd have to go
mm.
through. I mean, it's all
and
wrong
it
shape and
and
everything.
again it's upside down because like Scotland is on the top from our
Yeah,
perspective,
the whole
and
map.
England is on the bottom, and Anglais, that's the angels, right? Angels, city of angels, Anglais.
But there's no sea. Like all the oceans are missing out of the map. I mean,
Hmm.
this is like Europe here, Africa here. The African coast's rather interesting as well. Like,
Which part is
and
missing, I wonder? Like
there's a
which part
river.
is there now that's not there here? There's Ethiopia. It'd be
Yeah,
very
but
interesting to look at this alongside of another map, like two screens or dual
yeah,
screen.
yeah. And then India's missing, I think.
Oh,
But it's a separate continent. So there's a sea between some of India and the rest of India, I think. I think that's India there.
well, now look at that word there, that island, Saylam. I read it backwards. I went Malay, like
Oh,
Malaysia. Is that
yeah, yeah, it could
possibly?
be. Yeah. It
Is
could
it?
be if they're talking about the water receding,
Hmm.
but then no, I don't know because they've got I mean they've got Italy and Spain. The that's just about right. France is just about right.
That's amazing.
There's a separate country there as well called Dacia. That's there's that's like where
What's this little
Norway
princess place over here? There's a castle in a circle there. That's curious.
is
Up
Prague.
opposite.
Oh, Prague,
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Prague,
Oh, I'd like to take a
Praga.
closer look at that. That's very interesting.
Mm.
Get a feel for the language and the lay of the land, see what it was thought to have been.
As
But
you
we can get
scroll in
lost in
through,
so many rabbit holes. That's why I
I
asked, where
know,
does it come from?
but it was
Because
like
so much is being created to distract us
I
from what
know.
really matters. You
And
know,
does
if
it
we
really
can
matter?
just, if, and that's something that I think it's important for us to ask ourselves, what is really important? What is it that I really want to put my attention onto? And, uh, and then listening for that response that you'll get.
I
You
was
might not
looking at
want to do it though. It might be more fun to look at other people's stuff, right? I don't know.
that town there called Morocco,
Morocco. Look
spelled
at that.
completely differently. But Morocco's
Oh, and
here,
look right above that. Monte Atlante.
Atlantia, I know, over Mountain
And
Cher,
right up along a Cabal.
over, yeah. No, Gabal,
Oh,
Gabale.
gee, Gabal.
Yeah.
Mm,
All right. I'll give you a link to it. I'm
definitely get lost in that.
gonna cut off the whole conversation now. Oh, there was something else I wanted to say about that, which I got right into. Was
Oh,
funnily
right.
enough, they depicted the Canary Islands beautifully. They
Atlanticus. Hmm.
they Atlanticus, yeah. They depicted the Canary Islands beautifully, considering the top of Scotland and all the rest of it. The Canary Islands seemed to be exactly as they were. So what we did was, or I did, at your suggestion, was I went to Google Maps and I did a picture of the Canary Islands and then I turned them upside down to compare them
That's
to
perfect.
see
Oh my
how
goodness, look at that.
to see
Oh
how
my goodness, it's very like, oh my goodness,
it's very similar.
isn't it?
So they got that right, and it's even got the same names.
And you
Um,
can see there's
Gran
something under
Canaria,
there.
Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
I mean, these places have these names to this day. Uh, anyway, I
It's
don't I really should have looked at what the origin of the map was because it might just be a because it's
well,
National History Day Maps Edition,
a guide
analyzing
for
maps.
finding. Hmm.
So
It's a composite map.
it's a composite map,
Hmm.
but
From
and
Portugal. It looks like it's from Portugal.
they're always from Portugal because they were the big sea people.
Well, yes, they were.
Everything's from Portugal in relation to any old maps and stuff like that. 90% of it either or almost always originates from Portugal or Italy. Italy was the other one.
That's very interesting. And you would know, Kim, you've really studied maps, and that's pretty cool, this one. That is unreal.
I know, isn't it?
What do you make of it? Like, why is it like that now? Why no inland waters? Because it looks like what happened? What do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I can see how the guy says that he thought it was Atlantis.
Hmm.
I can see the, the kind of concept of the rings. There was something else as well, which were, I think I kept on the screen. Um, no. Oh yeah, because basically that's this mud fossil university. That's a picture of Google Maps today in the desert area,
Hmm.
which was the thing that led me into this. Oh, this article here, um, which had some maps, old maps of Sahara when it was green, or it was.
Oh.
And if you look at, I mean, I don't know what this 500-year-old map show rivers in the middle of the Sahara Desert,
Hmm.
which that composite map did uh, here inland sea in Africa.
And
Um,
quite a large too. And it ended, where was that again? Oh, sorry. What was the name of the place where it ended? It went as far as Alma, what does that say?
Ala, Ala,
Almona,
Alamona, Alamona,
Alamo.
Alamona, Alamona, Mons Palazzi, Sarah Mantia. It's not ringing any bells.
No,
Anyway, interesting. So
it
then
sure is.
this article here, which is I haven't watched it yet, but it's a video um of 500 years old map show rivers in the middle of the Sahara Desert. They've got it there, and they've got this like ringed place as Atlantis, which is the way we often see Atlantis depicted. And there again, that map there shows the river system virtually in the same place, like an inland, in really in depth river system going through there.
Well, and how do we know who's going to go out to the Sahara Desert? How do we know it's not there?
Don't know.
Um, we don't know anything until we, I don't know. I think it's hard to have faith in what we're seeing anymore because there's
No,
so much
misinformation.
that's CGI and
No, I know.
actors everywhere. We don't know what is true. So I think it's just very important for us to stay in I like looking at stuff like this, don't get me wrong, but I think it's important for us to get spiritual, chop wood, carry water. You
Yeah,
know, what is
that's
it
what I
that we're
think.
supposed to really work on? And,
That's what I
so
think.
be it. What is in
Like,
the
what does it
Imaginarium
matter?
for us? I was talking to somebody the other day. We talk a lot about our generational trauma, and every one of us has it because if our ancestors had trouble, you can be sure if that energy wasn't clear, there's a good chance we've got it too. We share a lot of other characteristics, so why wouldn't we have that as well? And that's another one example of that subtle energy that remains. And here we are now, we're learning how to clear energy. There's a reason we have to. We're our little light is going out. We're burning out. It's important for us to clear that dark energy that weighs us down.
Yeah,
And I was saying to someone the other day, we talk a lot about genealogy, and I said, we talk about generational trauma, but what about the generational strengths?
Mm.
Because they were survivors. They may have had some trauma, but you wouldn't have known it, you know?
A friend of mine did a psychology, learned through a psychology course to do a thing called Tree of Life, and
Yes.
it was based on that. It's based upon you draw in a tree and you put in the strong points of what you knew about the characters in your family in
Hmm.
relation to where your genetic strengths came from. Um, and that was one of the methods that they used in drug rehab to get
Oh,
people, um, you know, um, but it's like looking at what your family traits are, looking at what your family were good at.
yes. And spending more time in gratitude. So it's like that everything, with
Oh,
everything.
everything.
What do we put our attention on? Do we focus on the trauma? Well, of course we do, because that's what we're sort of programmed to do.
Uh,
Our existence has been about, oh no, Bambi's mom died. You
uh,
know,
uh,
it's trauma after trauma after
uh.
trauma. There's so much of it. It's in the
How,
music, it's everywhere.
how did that affect you when you were a kid, when Bambi's mum died?
Um, I don't recall. I think it was subtle. I probably
I
cried.
I remember being devastated. I
Yeah,
can because it's
well, it must have.
within 5 minutes of the movie starting, the mother dies. It's like, whoa, what?
I must
And
have blocked it, Kim, because I don't have a memory of it. I feel like I have a vault somewhere out there. I've been listening to country music in my new environment, and but I actually can't hear it. Like I said, oh, I don't know if I could do that, and I don't actually hear it. It's like I'm
uh,
not. It's like I know it's
uh,
on, but
uh,
I'm just so focused on other things.
uh,
It doesn't exist. I've
uh.
got it blocked. And same with old memories like that. It's like I must have blocked that too.
I used to do readings at the market in town in the middle of Brisbane, and
Hmm.
they would always sit me next to the band, which is like the worst scenario for a reader
I
because
agree.
you got all this noise, and yeah, I could block that out
Wow,
completely.
that's amazing. Oh, I don't know. I said to you recently, I think I found the mythical empty box room. Men often talk about having this emptiness that they can just sort of not think at all. And I've often wondered if it's true, if it's real, and because it sounds mythical, if you will, right? And
Yeah,
but the other day I had that experience where it was just like a peaceful, quiet. There was nothing, no
the
downloads,
thought.
no thoughts, no to-do lists. It was very peaceful, and I can't say that I minded it a bit. It didn't last long, but I enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there because I'm being invited out for lunch and I've got to go.
Well,
So
enjoy your lunch, and thanks for playing. It was fun being
yeah,
in the Imaginarium. I love your new digs. They're awesome.
yeah, that was you, the Imaginarium. So thank you for that. Thank you for the
Well,
word.
it's our Imaginarium, so now it's out there. It's official.
Yeah.
Fun. Have fun with it, and have fun with your lunch, Kim.
Will do.
Enjoy. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.